do not attribute to malice that which can be explained by stupidity.
Welcome to the Kingspiration podcast. This is the place where you'll learn how to get unstuck and gain momentum in your life and business. Each week, we tackle the real aspects of entrepreneurship, personal development, relationships, and fitness. I'm your co-host, Ethan King, from Atlanta, Georgia, USA, entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and best-selling author of Wealth Beyond Money.
And I'm your co-host, Justin King, no relation to Ethan, from Cape Town, South Africa, entrepreneur, speaker, and business growth strategist. Our journey crosses continents and cultures, sharing wisdom and experiences to propel you forward. Welcome to Kingspiration. Let's start the conversation.
So in the last episode, we had a conversation around a quote that Ethan brought to the table. Your mess is your message. Your brokenness can be your brilliance. We really had a deep discussion around that. Today, there's one that's a quote. I'm trying to think where I first came across it. I think it was mentioned by Chris Williamson on Modern Wisdom, a wonderful podcast. And he mentioned this line that do not attribute to malice that which can be explained by stupidity. Do not attribute to malice that which can be explained by stupidity. And this has stuck with me, and I've actually used it a lot in clients' engagements. I've just changed the word stupidity around a little bit so people don't get offended. I didn't want them to think that I was calling anybody stupid. But why this resonates and why it's been on my mind a lot is I think we're too sensitive sometimes. And that's, for me, is just a good reminder that not everybody is out there to be malicious towards us. Not everybody is trying to be nasty towards us. So not every action that somebody takes, particularly in the workplace, not everything that they say is meant to be coming from a place of trying to be ugly to you. They may just not know or may not have a better way. So I don't want to call them stupid in this case. But we can, instead of attributing to this malice, this nastiness from them, it can be explained by stupidity. Stupidity being the lack of being trained or coached on how to give feedback, the way that they were brought up, and the lack of having those types of conversations in their lives. The fact that they didn't know that it was the gentlemanly thing, and we've spoken about this before. Hopefully this isn't toxic masculinity, but it's the gentlemanly thing to wait and let a lady walk through the door first. And if a man has just squeezed through before, there wasn't any malicious intent from that. Just doesn't know any better. So I think as soon as we realize that, we start being generous in the way that I think we are generous with the way we understand the intent which people are showing up in certain instances with. And I think this is extremely powerful in the workplace. A mindset like that in the workplace is unbelievably powerful. Otherwise, we generally go down this road of bicker, rumors, corridor banter around why people are so nasty. But if we're just generous with the understanding of why they may have done something or why they may have not done something, rather than automatically thinking that they were trying to be malicious in the moment,
right?
I think we're looking, and we can work towards having a lot more harmony in these environments, in these communities within which we spend so much of our time as far as the workplace is concerned.
Yeah, for sure. I have this talk a lot with my kids, actually, because the problem with like these Disney movies and things is like they paint this picture that there's always this evil villain who's just evil for the sake of being evil. But in real life, it's usually not like that very often. It's very seldom that somebody just has pure evil intent. They just want to dominate the world, right? So either two things. If you perceive that someone's actions against you had malice or evil, assume ignorance. Assume maybe they just don't know something, or stupidity, or they're just ignorant to something they don't even realize how it's affecting you, or they're missing some piece of the puzzle. So the key there is communication and education, or they may just see things. They may have a different perspective and the key there is empathy. Try to put yourself in their shoes. And I always go to this example. I'm a huge Marvel Avengers nerd. So I tell my kids, well, look at Thanos, the big villain from the Avengers, right? He wasn't just evil for the sake of evil. He actually had a reason behind his madness. He had a whole philosophy and a whole strategy of trying to bring balance to the world. The Avengers didn't agree with him. To Thanos, the Avengers were the bad guys. But to us, Thanos was the bad guy. So that's why I love the complexity of that character and of that villain, because it more closely represents real life to me. That we're all going to have enemies in our lives. We're all going to have opposing forces. I think very rarely is it that someone just has ill intent for us. It usually is either due to ignorance, stupidity, or just they have a different perspective due to their background and where they're coming from in life.
Yeah. And I think the way that we need to show up is we need to replace judgment with curiosity. If we can do that. So instead of saying, no, I can't believe that person said that to me. What an asshole. You've got to be like, I can't believe that person said that to me. I wonder why. Let me ask them and dig a little bit deeper. Let me be curious in the way that I show up. Because as soon as you just go down this judgmental downhill spiral of they were nasty to me for X, Y, and Z reason, the intent was malice from the outset. It's just usually not the case. So that for me is an easy action. Well, maybe not easy, but it's an action we can all take. Like, stop yourself in the moment and say, no, I'm not going to be judgmental in this moment. I'm going to be curious. I'm going to ask questions and try to understand why they are showing up in that manner in this moment. I think that's a huge, it's a superpower if you can get that right.
It is. Show it with curiosity. And then once you figure out what's the real underlying reason, then communicate in a friendly, amicable way. Because usually in situations like this, people have their defenses up, right? And it can get pretty tumultuous if you're not careful. But once you truly understand their perspective due to your curiosity, then come in from a place of empathetic communication.
I think that is spot on. So before we wrap this one up, because we both haven't been able to attribute the quotes that we referenced to anybody in particular. So have you heard of Churchillian drift?
No. What's that? Is that where everything gets attributed to Churchill?
That is it. So usually when people don't know where a quote or whatever it comes from, they usually attribute it to, well, this was by Churchill. So I'm glad that we didn't do that, but so much so that there's an actual term called Churchillian drift. We'll find out where the quotes came from and we'll pop them in the show notes.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Kingspiration. We hope this conversation sparked insights to ignite action in your life and business.
We're on this journey together, sharing our challenges and successes to help all of us take the next step towards building momentum and ultimately reaching our goals.
If you found value in today's episode, please share it with someone else who might benefit and leave us a 5-star review.
And remember to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on our weekly conversations. Until next time, keep rolling, keep growing, and keep being inspired.